magical people. It's really just Amanda and Brandon, but we like magic well, you're not less magical. I don't know. I was trying to go Disney on everybody, but
judged now.
There's no judgment here. My name is Sean, and today is the 30th of July. And we're talking about something we haven't talked about recently, if ever. Now, we got some business to take care of before we get into things, but we're going to be talking about the Auxiliary Police Program because both myself and Amanda still is a part of it, and I used to be part of it. So we're going to talk about that. Now, Amanda happens to be a resident professional when it comes to child safety restraints, specifically car seats and ways of keeping your kids safe when you're driving. And we can talk and answer questions about that because we do have a live chat that we'll turn on in a moment, and you'll be able to throw your questions up. They'll come up on the screen. You're part of the conversation. Ask us questions, and we'll answer them. But the focus isn't going to be on child restraints or child safety. What do we call them?
Child restraints, car seats,
hooky uppy things. That isn't the focus, but you can ask those questions. But first and most importantly, Brandon, we want to talk about the Vision Zero enforcement team and where they're going to be today.
That's right, as always. Oh, it looks like I have terrible feedback from that, so we're not going to show you that today. But we'll talk about VZET being in 32 Division as well as 43 Division. Folks who watch the show regularly understand that you can go to torontopolice.on.ca/divisions/map. You'll get a map there. Usually I like to show it to you. However, my computer doesn't like me today, so hence the headset. But you can go to that map. You can find out exactly where the boundaries are of that division, as well as some important people that you could contact, reach out to, ask questions to, and even make community complaints if you have things to talk about in regards to traffic safety in your neighborhood. So
did I miss the excitement? Where are they today?
32, 43.
32 and 43. And for those who don't know what Vision Zero is or what they're all about, the Vision Zero enforcement team are a dedicated group of officers that focus on the big four. That's the speeders, the aggressive, impaired, or distracted drivers, the people who are doing things that lead to serious injuries and death on our roads. The goal of Vision Zero in general is to reduce those serious injuries and deaths because while we acknowledge that minor fender benders, minor collisions are going to happen. They're inevitable. The ones that lead to those serious injuries and death are totally preventable and unacceptable, and we're working to put a stop to it. And they're doing it by educating through enforcement. Those are not the folks who are going to give you a warning. You are going to get a ticket, and those are serious offenses that they're ticketing for. So if you don't want to meet them, don't break the law. Follow the rules of the road, even though they're wonderful people on their own when they're not writing tickets. But anyway. So the chat is open. Feel free to ask. But I wanted to talk about auxiliary because it's something that people have asked us after you've been on the show going, well, what do you guys do? What is an auxiliary? And I saw in the chat, QQ's in the room. What's going on? And here, Seymour wants to know, what does auxiliary do? Well, auxiliary is a volunteer entity within the police. It is uniform volunteers that perform police functions, and it's magical. It is really the best way to volunteer in your city, as far as I'm concerned. I did it for 12 years before becoming a police officer, and I've made amazing friends. I've had amazing experiences, and it ultimately allowed me to really know what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I confirmed that policing was where I was supposed to be. So, Amanda, first of all, good morning.
Good morning.
How long have you been with the auxiliary program?
So I've just actually did the math in my head, and I've just actually come up after 4 years. My first shift on duty was Canada Day 2017.
Oh, get out. That's awesome. It's 4 years, and were you always with traffic services, or were you somewhere else first?
No, so my first year was spent in what's now called CPEU. So it's basically just a starter group. So you kind of go to the big events, get to know the city, all of that. Then I spent a year at 53 Division. And now I've been with traffic services for 2 years. Just
in time for us to close the doors and say you can't come in because of the pandemic. So, because we met before you came, I guess, down. You were helping with car seat clinics when Giancarlo Morelli, who's now with the Vision Zero enforcement team, used to be where I am. And it's unfortunate that auxiliaries can't currently participate. We're really looking forward to having you back. Now, the concept, hey, look at that. auxiliaries and volunteers. When I got hired as an auxiliary officer, I went to the police college. I did my 8 weeks of training part time. I think it was 8 weeks, and it was a lot of fun. I got to learn how to swing that stick. I got to learn handcuffing procedures. I learned the rules of arrest, because you know, a lot of people wonder, what can auxiliary officers do because they're not police officers. Well, everybody in Canada, every citizen and even visitor, have the ability to perform citizens arrests. But the problem is that most people don't know what's involved, and if you don't know, it's just enough information to get you in trouble. So I finished. I graduated. I got my great picture with the then deputy chief, and I then went off and was assigned to traffic services, where I am right now. Oh, at the old location, but I was a traffic auxiliary, so I was the few, the proud, and very excited to be there. And that ultimately staged the way for coming back here as a PC.
Yeah, and I joined actually just because I wanted to volunteer. I was new to the city, so I wanted to kind of help out, but also meet people and get to know my city better. And now, you know, I decided that joining the police force full time was not my where I was aiming, but I'm actually going to become a paramedic because, you know, I still want to do the emergency services, just not quite the police officer side of it. As an auxiliary, I get all the fun of being an officer with none of the paperwork.
Do you think you want to stay on as an auxiliary officer after becoming a paramedic and still volunteer with us?
As long as I can.
See, there you go. So you can have the best of both worlds. Yeah, you know, a lot of people ask me, you know, why do you want to go and go from auxiliary, where you don't do a lot of paperwork, into a role where you do a lot of paperwork? And it's a very good question. It's a very good question.
You get paid more than I do to do this, so
there is that ability to actually feed my family as a component. But I did double duty as well. When I started as an auxiliary, I loved it. I had fun. I think I did 600 volunteer hours in my first year. Obviously, I was single back then. And then I became a court officer because there was a hiring freeze for police constable. I became a court officer, and I did both. I was a weekend auxiliary, I was a weekday court officer, and I was getting exposure on both sides. And it really, really was the best of both worlds, because I got great experience in both careers.
Well, and I've loved the experience. Like I said, I did it because I wanted to kind of get to know my new city. I've gone to the X. I've done Taste of the Danforth a couple times. I actually got to participate in the I just lost the games that came with
Invictus games.
Thank you, Invictus, Honda Indy. I've gotten to do all of these cool things that I may not have kind of made the trek out into the city to do. And I mean, it never hurts, you know, things like the X. You know, I get free admission in uniform, and I get to kind of wander and see everything, try all the cool foods out. And, you know, get to see parts of the city while also meeting cool people and helping out.
And it's funny you say that. It was not work for me. I used to do it as part of my enjoyable weekends. That I had auxiliary friends. We'd sign up to details together. We'd do Taste of the Danforth. And yeah, we were in uniform. We were walking, and we still get lunch breaks, and we'd still do things. But you're interacting and meeting so many people and affecting them in a positive way. Like the kids. I don't know about maybe it's different today, but I think people wanted to take pictures with you. People wanted to just thank you for your service, and a lot of them wanted to know how to find their way to where they were going. And you become this roving information station.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of taking pictures, look what I just found.
Oh wow!
Who dat right there? What's going on here?
That was Auxiliary of the Month a couple years ago. So I got to meet with Superintendent Baptist there, the one presenting me with the plaque. He's actually the reason I became an auxiliary. I started attending CPLC meetings when he was at 13 Division, and he introduced me to the team and encouraged me to join. And now I got to follow him to traffic when he moved over there.
That's awesome. Everyone's got a different story for auxiliary. Like I was looking for an opportunity to become a police officer, and there wasn't one available at the time. So again, joined as an auxiliary. But I had friends that were arm's length. They were involved with the police, or they were police officers. And a lot of them said, "What do you want to do it for free. Just go and join. But I didn't have that opportunity. It wasn't an option. I have made so many good friends, or lifelong friends, from the auxiliary program. And it's a great program. I often say it's the best way to tour your city. You don't get paid, but you do get mileage. You get reimbursed for transportation. So, when you're running around the city to go and volunteer at different major events. Oh, did I just do something? Can you still hear me? Okay. Yeah, cool. When you're running around the city and you get the chance to do all sorts of different events, at least it's not on your own dime. You're getting reimbursed for gas and to some level, I guess, maintenance. So it's, the city's wants you to be involved. Now, again, things are a little different right now, but we really look forward to these opportunities coming back when we can all get together and do these big events. But you really got into the car seat clinic deal, because at Traffic Services, even when I started, I was a car seat installer. Now things have changed recently. It's no longer installing; it's more teacher, inspector. But that was a huge component of what we did at Traffic Services.
Yeah, so the program had actually phased out at Traffic Services for a while there. And one of my good friends, actually, he was the first one to kind of come over and restart the auxiliary program at Traffic. And he, while I was still at 53, he helped me come over and work on the clinics, things like that. And now I've kind of kept the program going. I was a tech far before I joined the auxiliary program. And it's awesome to be able to use something that I do in my civilian life to help the city even further through the program that we have.
Do you know the history of the auxiliary program, like where it was born? And
I've know vaguely, and I know different parts of it. I remember there's a lesson on that back, 4 years ago in my training course. I know some of the bigger stories; those were kind of more memorable. So there's the train derailment that they helped out with years ago. Those were kind of the bigger things that how we can help in the city.
I won't pretend to know this story off, verbatim, but my understanding is that the Toronto Police Auxiliary, or the Metropolitan Toronto Police Auxiliary Program, actually got its colors issued before the Toronto Police Service did. It was formed prior to the amalgamation of the City of Toronto's police service, because we used to have multiple services, and it's something that was born out of the Civil Defense League. Back in the day, the civil defense was a thing. I have one of my very good friends, his father was civil defense in Montreal, and he had looked into auxiliary policing when he came in, but it was a wider role. It was really leaned on. Police services weren't big budget things, and volunteers played a greater role in the community for helping to keep everyone safe. So that we even had our own chief of the auxiliary. There was all the ranks all the way up to the top. It was a separate organization, and it's really cool. In fact, if anyone is watching and has interest in learning about the history of the Toronto Police Service, we have a museum, and they are located at headquarters, 40 College Street. I don't know if they're open yet, but it is something that I'm looking forward to one day doing a live stream from, or doing a tour to bring you in. Maybe we'll shoot a video of it, because if you can't go in, we'd like to bring it to you. When things do open up, you should totally walk around and have a look. It's a lead by your own, wander around. It's free, although they love donations because it's all donation driven. Just as a tidbit, there's also an amazing gift shop, and all proceeds from the gift shop go to fund the museum. But then you can get your great cool t-shirts and hats and whatnot. Anyway, inside there they have great representations of all the old uniforms, some information about officers and stories and of different units. Where was I going with this? Oh, they have an entire display about the auxiliary police and its original stuff. Somewhere I've got a 50-year flyer, because I went to the 50-year. Was it the 50 year or was it 65 year? There's so many years.
I mean, you could have gone to both, let's be honest.
Yes, based on, because I started in 2000 with the auxiliary police, and okay, I'm not sure about the phrase. I just saw a comment come over, and it's questionable choice of phrasing, but yeah. we'll get back to with the I had the opportunity to go through and be involved with all sorts of major events that involve the city and the auxiliary program. So it's really
with the museum there. I actually was looking through old pictures yesterday and found a picture I took when I was going through the museum of one of the original breathalyzers. I can just send it along to you because it's different like vials of things that you would breathe through. It's kind of cool to look at.
There used to be a big board. Sorry, as I'm distracted by the side there. The big board in the in the front of the museum. Do you remember the one I'm talking about with the giant 10-foot or 20-foot tall officer? That used to be outside. Like it was actually a board that you would drive by, and it talked about the number of collisions and fatalities and so on as a ticker.
Should make a billboard about that for over one of the highways.
Well, that's interesting. We do have that kind of stats available on the internet. It keeps track. You can see a lot of these things. It used to be on our traffic services page. Maybe it's not there now, but it's interesting to see how things have changed, how things have come. So off the museum topic, you said you're gonna be starting as a paramedic or learning to be a paramedic. What is the process for that?
I'm going back to college in September. It's a 2-year college program, and then hopefully, all fingers crossed, I'll get hired on after I graduate.
Well, good luck on that. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way. Good luck on that. No, good luck to you on that. It's a major thing to pivot and take a totally different direction on that. But it's a very honorable option. Even though we're losing out on having you as a member of the service full time, we're glad to keep you on as an auxiliary. Someone had a chat in the group. Was it Latassos who wanted to know if Brandon had been an auxiliary officer prior to joining the force?
That's a good question. We call it the service these days now, but yeah, it's not something I had the opportunity to do beforehand, unfortunately. However, I had a lot of people around me who were involved in it, and they're actually the people who sort of motivated me to come this direction in the first place. My stepfather's auxiliary sergeant at 22 Division.
Get out.
Yeah, and so he also did it with Barrie Police, and he's been doing it for 25 years. So pretty much as long as I've been alive. And yeah, just the type of person he was, sort of the A-type personality, very giving to his community. He got to do some really cool stuff. And I was working at a steel mill at the time, and it sounded way, way better than what I was doing. So it was very, it was the right choice for me, and I was around the right people. And every auxiliary I've met since then, man, they've been some switched on people, and they've got some incredible skills, and I have no doubt that people like Amanda will make it into the paramedic services and be an absolute boon to our city. So,
well, it's funny. I've known you for a number of months, and I just learning about this auxiliary connection. Who knew? The surprise, reveal about the auxiliary connection. But yeah, auxiliary is something that people don't understand how much is actually done by them. The best example, I think, is Santa Claus Parade of years gone by. It is mostly manned or personed by auxiliary officers. All those officers walking up and down the path, keeping everybody off to the side, making sure that kids get found when they get lost and whatnot. It's volunteers, and one of the I guess the identifying markers of an auxiliary is a checkerboard hatband. And a rocker underneath the Toronto Police patch that says auxiliary. But other than that, from a distance, most people can't tell the difference. And
we have the light blue shirts.
Unless you're wearing a jacket and we can't see, because Santa Claus Parade is chilly. But yeah, there's light blue shirts as another indicator. But not all police services use light blue shirts. Some of them are using some dark ones because for them, it's again very different. Their auxiliaries, where our auxiliaries tend to go and assist in major events. Auxiliaries with the OPP, auxiliaries with York Regional Police, for instance, they do almost everything with police officers. They do regular ride-alongs. They're qualified on firearms to assist in the event that something happens. Like it's a very different. Whereas we I think for the most part have gone to the point where auxiliaries do help with canvassing and major events, but it's got a slightly different feel. You're not doing regular patrols as often. The focus isn't there.
Yeah.
but there's so much to do that you're never going to be bored. So I don't know if do you know if we're hiring auxiliaries, even though they're not? I guess we wouldn't be hiring them because there's nothing going on right now.
We're still like accepting applications, but like classes, because there's a lot that you have to go through between application and your class. You got background screenings, all of that. I had to go, like every single person in my family I had to write down so that they could look into everything. So they'll go through, they might be still going through that, even though classes are on hold for now.
Okay, so something to keep going and keeping an eye on. If you are interested in the program, becoming an auxiliary officer for that amazing opportunity once things start going again, www.torontopolice.on.ca/careers would be the place to go, and look under auxiliary opportunities, and there's information about the program. So did we cover this? What's your favorite experience as an auxiliary officer thus far?
My absolutely favorite moment was being at Salsa and St. Clair, and I always try to interact with the kid, let them wear my hat for a picture, things like that. And I know
you're brave. You're brave. I make that kidding. I have children, so I know about all the letters I get from school saying there's a child with lice. So
yeah, I feel like I have enough gel in my hair on those moments that not a whole lot's going to be getting in there.
Okay.
But there's a little girl who I could see watching me, but kind of wasn't approaching. And so I went over to say hi, and her parents mentioned that she was actually deaf, and I happened to have a sign language background. So I was able to sign with her a bit, and seeing her face light up and be able to have the conversation with someone that she was expecting just not to be able to communicate with, and still being able to have that interaction was probably one of the highlights. Because auxiliaries, there's a range of languages that we have spoken and all of that, and being able to reach out and have those connections that they may not have had and may not have ever been able to kind of think that they could have, just is amazing. And especially as a female auxiliary, the little girls who say, think all of a sudden, oh, I could do that, in a fairly still male-dominated field overall.
I don't even know what our stats would be, but yeah, definitely, it tends to be more male officers than female officers, at least from my experience. But we're seeing a lot more females applying, I shouldn't say applying, because I think it was 50-50 in my class, probably around there. So there were lots of Brandon. When you went PC, did you find the same?
Oh yeah, for sure. Lots of ladies in our class. And again, like same sort of situation, lots of different age ranges, lots of every gender, and lots of different backgrounds, lots of different experiences. So the service, whether it's auxiliary or whether it's uniform, there's room for everybody, and lots of opportunities. Don't limit yourself. Don't think, oh, I don't have this or that, so I can't apply. Nope, get in here. We need you.
Yeah, and that's another thing with auxiliary. There's lots of folks that retire as auxiliaries and join and continue serving as AUXO members, which are for retired auxiliaries. Because I think you're retired at 65 as an auxiliary, unless things have changed because they extended the retirement age. But there's opportunities to stay involved and be
for sure.
and contribute, and that's what it's all about.
Those are the ones that get to drive those retro cars and all of that. They take care of Blinky for us too.
Yes, there's a lot of great things that go on there.
What are the requirements, Amanda? Are they similar to PC requirements for hiring, or
similar, but I think actually less strict? So, like, I didn't have to do the fitness test beforehand. Not quite the same kind of requirements that way. I believe citizenship requirements are slightly less strict as well.
You have to be a resident, a landed immigrant, or I believe is the status. It's not citizen, because in fact, to be a police officer, you don't have to be a citizen. In the States, in many states you do, but not in Canada. There we go.
Yeah. So
did it say citizen at the top? It does. Oh, permanent resident.
Citizen or permanent resident.
Citizen or permanent resident.
Yeah. Which I think is the same for PC, from what I recall.
Yeah, I know the one thing that can be harder in Toronto is you do have to have your license and feel comfortable driving. But the other side of that is you get to drive the cruisers, which I laugh sometimes that not having my own car in the city, I drive cop cars more than civilian cars these days.
But there's so many skills that you get the opportunity to develop, and you brought up a really good point for somebody who has their license but doesn't drive often. There's a driving course. Did you do the driving course for your blue card? Because they were at one point not requiring it.
I wanted to do it, but what they do is they made me take a test because I don't drive, and I passed the test, so they didn't slot me into the course. So it's still something I want to take at some point, because who better to teach you how to drive well than somebody who teaches police officers how to drive
For
well?
sure. No, and on the police side, there's even more fun when it comes to that. But there's other opportunities. Like I got my search and rescue training as an auxiliary officer, level 1 and 2. We went out, we had organized training. It was out in a park kind of situation. And then we were able to go and assist when there were search opportunities. So really, really cool stuff. And even if it's just opportunity, like when we were doing stuff, I was a sergeant at 32 Division. We had speakers come from different areas of the police service to share some knowledge, tours at different facilities, go see the ETF, go see the Marine unit. I got to go on a Marine boat and tour the harbor as an auxiliary. I didn't get that invitation as a PC. I haven't gone cruising on the open waters. Mind you, Brandon, you did, but you were filming a video, and but go ahead.
Sean, I was just going to ask you, because you've made the transition. You've gone auxiliary to PC. How much do you think? Because people are going to ask us, and they ask us all the time on TikTok. Like, is auxiliary a good avenue to becoming a full PC officer? Is it a good avenue to becoming even a court officer?
I think yes. I think it's a great introduction to the organization, and for someone who wants to dip their toe in and not make a commitment, because it's a big commitment to change a career, to get an idea of what the culture is like, to know what it's like to walk around in a uniform and have people walk up to you and just start asking you questions. If you have any kind of I don't want to say, if you're not comfortable with it now, well, how are you going to know? And if you make the switch and find out it's not for you based on how that interaction goes, you could save yourself making an error that you would have difficulty recovering from, right? If you quit a job, become a police officer and say, this isn't for me, you've just taken a whole lot of time out of your life and to change directions. Whereas a volunteer commitment of 150 hours a year, you can recover from that. There is such a good foundation being built, not only for interpersonal skills, for being a resource, for being a public figure, because you walk around, you're representing something. I think it's an amazing opportunity as a precursor to doing other things. And I think police officers that come from the auxiliary program, either to become court officers or court officers who become police officers, make some of the best police officers we have. Now, those who don't have that background may not agree with me, but I see a difference, because it's someone who walks in here and it's like, I know this place. This isn't new. Day one isn't day one. Day one is, I've been doing this I was 12 years as an auxiliary. I had relationships with people throughout the service before I ever got paid as a member of the service. So yeah, it can only help you.
Those relationships, like I have some people who I knew as auxiliaries who have now joined as PCs, and I've had them reach out to me being like, especially the car seat side of it, they're on the road and they're like, hey, question about this. And that's a relationship that, a PC who hasn't gone through the program, they won't have those connections of whether it's a PC or an auxiliary that they know, hey, this person knows the answer to this question. I have that contact in traffic. I have that contact, maybe in CIB who I met through when being out there. Because I've gone to details at so many different divisions. Whereas if you're coming in as a PC and you get immediately slotted into, say, 13 Division, you might not know anybody down at traffic to be able to reach out to.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point. Got a good question from our friend, Mr. Seymour. He wants to know, is it better to be an auxiliary, or is it better to volunteer elsewhere? And I think he's meaning in relation to, if you want to apply for Toronto Police Service, you have to have some sort of volunteer background. So it's better to do auxiliary or volunteer. Personally, it sounds like auxiliary, but I never got to experience it.
I think either are good. You can volunteer at the auxiliary or with the auxiliary program or anywhere, as long as you're volunteering. Police constable, the position of police constable, I think more than ever wants to see commitment to your community and experience where you're giving of yourself, because contributing your free time is possibly the biggest thing that you can do. I think take your time away from your family and give to people you don't know or don't yet know. That says something about you. And if you do that in the community, policing is a job that can be anything. So if you volunteer as an auxiliary, you could be doing anything within the auxiliary program, from door knocking and canvassing for people who may have witnessed something, to helping to collect cans of food for a food drive, to a Santa Claus. It's a job. It's one title with many, many opportunities and many different duties, and it could be anything. If you volunteer to, I don't know, what's a volunteer opportunity? Work in a soup kitchen, for example. That's what you do. Yeah, there's other things, but that's what you do. You could be auxiliary assisting at a soup kitchen one day, but a soup kitchen guy will never go and be an auxiliary just because there's so much more. So I think it's a great opportunity, and unique. So I will always advocate and say that's the best opportunity. But you know what? It's got to be right for you. So if your goal is ultimately being a police officer, it gives you a unique opportunity to make relationships that may help you with the process. And going back to what you said, Amanda, is it for everybody? I think it's what you said. Is it for everybody? Is it a good stepping stone? Maybe it was Brandon who said it. Anyway, there are people who use it for a stepping stone, and I don't think it's appropriate. I think your commitment as an auxiliary officer should be that of an auxiliary officer, have an expectation of being there, putting in a few years, testing the waters. But if you say, I'm going to use this to better my chances of being hired, and you just use it to work the system, I think that's a negative way. And I think that
right.
that the service sees it that way. You know, if you're not really putting your all into it, don't do it, because you can hurt yourself as much as help yourself. If you come in and you are lazy or late, or you have just hurt your chances of becoming a police officer.
100%.
So you
it
got to.
hurts the auxiliary program too, because like when I joined, we had our graduating class, and many of them wanted to become officers. And two things happen: either you become an officer, and so the program loses you to the service, or you end up not getting hired, and then you don't want to continue volunteering because you've ruined your chances. You don't want to give to the service that hasn't hired you. And now we have an auxiliary program who still needs people. They need, like, whether or not you're hired, with that homicide canvas, or the X, or all of these events, they still need us out there and doing this work.
Right, but I will counter that. When I left the service from paid service for a while, and I returned, and I returned as a court officer before going police officer, even though I knew I wanted to be a police officer. And I had a conversation with my friend Paul at the employment, and I said, I don't want to waste money from the service. I don't want to waste money if your budget hiring me here, should I just wait until I'm ready to pass the test? And he said something that changed my life effectively. He said, we want good people. And if you are going to come here and give us time, and you're going to go do something else, and you're staying within our you're going to stay within our organization, and you're going to make us better, then it doesn't matter if you come here and then move, and we spend money on you moving between, because you're ultimately just coming to the family and spending more of the you're making it better. So he was very positive about it, but I was very concerned about wasting budget and training funds. And ultimately he set me straight and said that it was good. You're coming, you're doing the right thing. So I really appreciated that, because I could have hummed and hawed and said, maybe I should wait, and maybe something would have happened that I would have never been where I am now. I love it. We could talk about auxiliary all day long, but I want to bring in QQ, who's been waiting in the background to talk about something new, and it's something we haven't chatted about ever before, because it just happened. We are very active, as many of you watching may know, on TikTok, because I talk about it constantly and consistently and forever. We just went over for 142, or we 143,000 followers now. In any case, we have a lot of people who subscribe, follow, and participate on our TikToks. And one of the things that happened was yesterday we had something in the office that drew our attention. It was something that was very crucial to be done yesterday. As a result, we could not go live. We didn't go live at all. And we want a way of communicating with all of our community. So QQ has graciously created a Discord server for us. Now, Discord is a platform of communications. It's text, it's chat, but it's different than Twitter. It's different than the social media platforms where you just send up posts, and it's actually just for us and for the people who follow the show. So let's see here. Link to post it. QQ, are you good with coming out to explain it, or would you like us to post it? No pressure. You explained it. Okay. So QQ is not going to join us, but I am going to post the link. Are you going to do it, Brandon?
Oh, yeah, I'm all over it.
He's all over it. Okay. So essentially, what Brandon is posting on screen in a moment is an invitation. By clicking or typing that into your web browser, it'll bring you to Discord and specifically to our server. There's a room for asking questions. You can ask questions, and there's a lot of people. Like we've really developed a community where our followers and our subscribers from all the different platforms that we arrive on or publish to kind of come together and discuss things that matter to them, that are related to policing and to traffic discussions and traffic safety. And hey, that's what it looks like. So if you go into the general chat, there's people who are right now discussing this very episode. And it's brand new. We just opened it up this morning, so there's not a lot of people. You can see we only have a handful of members, but you could be a member too, and we'd love to have you. So if you the link, we'll put up the link in a chat. We'll also put it in the show notes so that anyone following can jump in. It is PG-13. We do have it set up through the magic of bots that if any profanity will be a knock, and you can get kicked off the server. So hopefully that isn't something that we find to be a problem. But we're looking forward to it. So with that, I think we're going to shut her down. It's been a blast chatting about auxiliary stuff. I love the topic. It is near and dear to my heart. I appreciate everything the auxiliaries do, and I can't wait for them to come back.
Quick note before we plug everybody. Somebody reached out to me recently and asked, as a district special constable, if they should come on the show. So if anyone out there is interested in seeing something like that and they want to see some more aspects of the service, like, shoot us a message, DM us, let us know.
I think I think we just decided. I think you said they're interested in coming on. Let's have them on. Let's talk about what they do, because we get lots of questions on TikTok. We get lots of questions on all our platforms about what are special constables. What are these cars? Who's in them? What do they do? I think that's brilliant. So let's do it. In the meantime, you can follow us on Twitter. Twitter is a location that we tweet through and share information, both informational and safety on a regular basis. 7 a.m. every morning, we are posting where Vision Zero enforcement team is. So it is a constant source of information. You can also get us on the gram. Instagram is Toronto Police. Sorry, it is Traffic Services Toronto Police. You can get us there. You can get us on YouTube by searching Traffic Services Toronto Police. And all of these shows, an archive of every show we've ever done, lives there. So all our lives are found, as well as a lot of the content from our other platforms. We even share TikToks on YouTube for those of you who don't have the app. But of course, the most important place on the earth is TikTok. You can get us at Traffic Services there. We go live Monday to Friday, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. unless there's an emergency for the boss and or something else going on. But if you're on a Discord, you're going to find out what that is in advance when we can't go live. You can also get us with the TikTok for our content that we put up all the time. And we're it's a busy place. We're answering your questions. There's a Q&A format. There's messages. There's DMs. Lots of opportunities. And finally, if you want to email us, you can. And that's at trafficservices@torontopolice.on.ca. So with all that mouthful of stuff, we will not be back over the weekend. It's a long weekend. Sorry, we will be back after the weekend. We won't be back on Monday. This show will go live on Tuesday when we are joined by Teens Learn to Drive. And if you are looking to catch up on what Teens Learn to Drive is, you can get them on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and now TikTok at TL2D Today. That's their username. Check out their content, throw them a follow. We're helping them out. They've got great content. They're focused on traffic safety initiatives to bring the conversation to young persons, to new drivers, to youth. So they're also looking for delegates in a couple of different areas. And if you are a student interested in participating with their wonderful programs, reach out to them. Check out their website. What is their website? It's teenslearntodrive.ca, I believe.
Oh, sorry, this is their TikTok.
Yeah. It is their TikTok, and they've got great stuff. And they even have an interview with me on there. Actually, a great segue to what they're talking about is they interviewed me about G1, G2 tests, or at least getting your G2 and getting your G. And there's a lot of discussion about people who are backlogged trying to get those tests and can't get them until like 2022. Well, they've got information that I've shared with them about our experiences booking tests and sort of how to to get one sooner rather than later, at least techniques to get better results. So with that, have a wonderful long weekend. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you everywhere that we see you. Hopefully on Discord and TikTok and Instagram.
All the places.
And Twitter. All right.